Hi, this is me speaking, Alex. Can you hear me? Good. I will be your instructor for today's lesson in the advanced setup. Okay, it says here you already have some basic knowledge of the game. Good, then it's easier for me. Okay, so the lesson will be in 3 parts. First, we will take a look at all the base components in the setup, and we will see how they interact with each other. Secondly, we will take a look at a game example, so we understand the intrigue thoroughly. Thirdly, we will make a little scenario to see your field knowledge, and to see if you maybe learned a thing or two. Got it? Good. Let's start with the first part. Okay, so the advanced setup, like all the other setup, can support 4 to 6 players with 7 to 9 cards in each game, depending on the number of players. So the roles are as following: Fall Guy, Plant, Attorney, X-Cop, Anarchist, Wildcard, Negotiator, Shoplifter, and a Psychiatrist. Okay, so let's go through the list one by one and go more in-depth in each role. Let's start with the Fall Guy. The Fall Guy is a very interesting role because of the fact that it, unlike the rest of the card, doesn't have the red or green background. Instead, it has its own orange background, which makes the cards unique. This means that for the Fall Guy to win, he has to get himself arrested. This can be rather tricky because if you're acting too suspicious, you will most likely be called out as a Fall Guy. But if you're acting too innocently, you will probably pass under the radar. You could try to team up with the bank robber, because if they get you arrested, they also win. So in short, you have to make yourself look like a bank robber that is pretending to be an innocent and not a Fall Guy that is pretending to be a bank robber. This makes the Fall Guy very tricky to win as, but also very rewarding when you finally succeed. In my personal experience, the stomach feeling is always extremely good at spotting a Fall Guy, so try to trick the logical part of the brain to accuse you, not the unconscious part. What this means is that it's probably better to go with trying to get accused by using broken logic, etc., than to be acting scummy, as this will probably both get you ignored, and you're working against millions of years of evolution into spotting a liar. The Plant. The Plant is aligned with the bank robbers, hence the red background. The Plant has the ability to make a room look more nicer, and it can also look at another player's card. The Plant's normal instinct would be to just claim Shoplifter, but this can prove to be dangerous claim, both because of the fact that its most advanced players are aware of the easy claim, and also because there is only Shoplifter in a 5-player setup. I would recommend using the knowledge you got to your advantage, while not making it obvious that you are the Plant. Maybe try to counterclaim the person you saw and get them arrested. If you look at the card and you see a Shoplifter, something very interesting can happen. If they don't claim, they might have stolen your or another bank robber's card, which might be worth looking into, as this can be a very rewarding tactic. I haven't really tried this, but it could perhaps be some situations where claiming someone was a shoplifter when they were not could trick the innocents into voting them even if they weren't a shoplifter to begin with. Attorney. Okay, so this can be a bit tricky for me to explain. The attorney is on the bank robber side, and if the bank robbers win, the attorney wins, even if he gets arrested. If there isn't any bank robbers though, he has to get someone else arrested without making himself too obvious. Okay, so what's the problems? The problem is that the other robbers don't know that you are the attorney. Well, I don't personally have much experience as the attorney, but I could think that trying to shift the blame onto someone could be a viable strategy. Just don't make it too obvious. You could also try to shift the blame onto yourself to get the suspicion off the robbers, but if you seem a bit suspicious, they might understand that you are the attorney or Fall Guy and ignore you. Pretending to be an anarchist could also be a rewarding strategy, seeing as it's a very powerful role and it's not very simple to just deduct. Just watch out for the negotiator, as they could expose you as not being an anarchist. On second thought though, this could be a viable strategy. Consciously pretending to swap the negotiator with another player and then having them reveal and vote you up instead of robbers might be worth it looking into. The X-Cop. Everyone's favorite card. The X-Cop is on the innocent side and can, during the robber phase, either look at the 2 cards at the bottom or look at another player's cards. Often, it's best to look at 2 unused cards than to look at another player's card. As a matter of fact, looking at another player often makes the other players really suspicious of you, as they might start to believe you to be in the Plant. This also doesn't help the other players so much, so this should only be done sporadically, if ever. I would also recommend not saying what you saw when you claim, but wait to see what the other players say, and they might claim something you saw at the bottom. Okay, so let's say there's a counterclaim between you and another guy. How do you go forth in this situation? I would suggest telling both of the counterclaims to write their findings with a number and a role, and have a third party do the countdown. Then, at the count of 3, have everyone press enter at the same time. This way, you should be able to easily write your findings, and the imposter will really think, so they don't accidentally mess up. This method also works if someone is claiming wildcard. Simply have them write the number they took, and then press enter at the same time. This is not a very viable way to deduct the wildcard though, as they could easily just say another number, but if you're lucky, you could catch a wildcard picking a number that is the same number as a bad guy and have them expose themselves in front of everyone. Anarchist. Oh, the anarchist. The child of chaos. The anarchist is on the innocent side and can swap cards between two players. Sounds nice and tidy? Well, the anarchist can break a complete game. As with X-Cup, you shouldn't say what you did right out of the gate, but you should instead wait until everyone has claimed, and then share the information with your comrade. The anarchist can seem a bit unnecessary at first glance. The only thing it does is swapping two players' cards, but trust me, it's one of the most powerful innocent-sided roles. By saying you swap two guys, if one of them is a robber, he will retract their previous claim and instead say that he was in fact the robber. You could use this to your advantage by fake claiming to swap two suspects when in reality you swap two other players. This can be used to trick a player into exposing themselves as a robber, which can sometimes be very helpful. This can make you look really suspicious though, if you happen to try to bait, which is what this is usually called, a negotiator who reveals that you in fact didn't swap them. Beware though, this is a very easy claim to make as a robber, because of the fact that it's very hard to prove or expose, and also by the fact that you don't need any information whatsoever to say that you, indeed, totally swapped two guys. To solve an eventual counterclaim, simply follow the same protocol as the X-Cup, and if you're lucky, there might be a negotiator to reveal who the real anarchist is. Another helpful thing to know is that the anarchists always go after the shoplifter and before the wildcard, which means that one of the players could possibly be a wildcard even after the robber phase. The wildcard. Yes! The classical false claim, the wildcard. The wildcard starts out on the innocent side, but is forced to, under the robber phase, to take a random card from the bottom. The card may very well be an innocent, but could also be one aligned with the bank robbers, which will change the alignment of the wildcard. The reason most people tend to fake claim to be the wildcard is because of the virtually non-existent need of information to be the wildcard. Unlike another role, like for example the shoplifter, which need to know another player's role. Another reason is that it's hard, if not impossible, to prove or unprove that you are the wildcard. If a counterclaim occurs, you should know the drill by now. An X-Cup could then help you figure out who the bad guy is. You will know if you get a red card, in which case you should claim to have taken another card than you actually took. If you happen to be a wild card, be prepared for being counterclaimed. Even if there isn't a counterclaim, some people will still suspect you. Even if they would believe you to be the wild card, you could have still taken a bad card, which is why being confirmed by an X-Cup could be a very helpful thing. Just a few more things. If you happen to miss doing your action, no worries, it will automatically pick a random card for you, which doesn't happen with other roles. Also, I would suggest writing down which cards you took, so you don't forget it. Better to make the most effort to avoid raising suspicion as possible, now that you will probably have a few counterclaims coming your way. Negotiator. Okay, I have never been a negotiator, so this will be very interesting. The negotiator is a very unique role that has the ability to do something during the interrogation phase, namely to reveal their current role. This could be a very powerful ability if used right. Obviously, if you just reveal it instantly, it won't do anything, but if you try to counterclaim someone, you could get some really useful information from it. This is the perfect get out of trouble card, so be sure to make the most out of it. This is also a perfect card for countering swapping claims, so be sure to hold on to it for as long as possible. Also, revealing in the beginning also implies the risk of immediately revealing yourself as a bad person. If you, for example, got swapped with a plant, then you will show to everyone your true identity and will immediately get accused and sent to jail. So be wise and try to hold on to the card for as long as possible and make the most use out of it. The Shoplifter, my personal favorite. The Shoplifter only shows up in a 5 to 6 player game, but it's still a very powerful role. You have the ability to swap your card with another player of your choice. You know what the other player was, but the other player doesn't know that they have been swapped. This means that you could very likely end up as a bank robber, therefore changing your winning condition. In this case, don't claim you were Shoplifter, but try to make up a false claim. If you're lucky, the plant might claim to be the Shoplifter and you can call them out as a plant. If you happen to swap your card with a non-evil role, set it as soon as the interrogation phase starts. That way, the other player can confirm you as a Shoplifter and everyone is happy. Remember, if you happen to get a counterclaim on the Shoplifter, you know that the other player are plant and need to act accordingly. Psychiatrist. The Psychiatrist only appears in a game with 6 players, but could play a huge role in the game. The Psychiatrist has the ability to choose a person under the robbery phase, and if the player is innocent, it reveals the cards to everyone. But if the player is either bank robber or fall guy, it doesn't reveal. Instead, the Psychiatrist just receives a message telling them that it couldn't be revealed. So how would this work out in practice? If you happen to reveal an innocent role, claim as soon as the Shoplifter has done their claim, and if there isn't a counterclaim, then you were almost proven. If a counterclaim would occur, there is probably no good way to solve it, so be sure to get the upper hand and claim as soon as possible. But what if you happen to find who the robber is? Don't immediately accuse the person for being robber, instead take a trimeter to see if someone can prove your Psychiatrist role before telling you the information. By taking this time, you can analyze your client and see how he behaves. There's a possibility of them being a fall guy, and you might be giving them a very easy win, so watch out for this. You can also see if you find any holes in your claim. It's much easier to convince the other players that you are indeed telling the truth if you can prove yourself, and at the same time disprove the other players' logic. This is also much more effective than hoping the other players will blindly trust you, especially when you are the one throwing accusations. This will also give the other person less time to react, and you may be able to catch the robber off guard. Oh, right. This is taking too long. Okay, I guess we have to cut it kinda short. I'm sorry about that. In the next lesson, I promise I will show you the game scenario and stuff. I'm sorry, but I have to run.
Alex, come now.
Yes, I'm coming. I gotta go. But you have your notes, so be sure to study all the roles before tomorrow's lesson. See you. Secondly, we will take a look at a game example, so you understand the intrigue thoroughly. This means that for the fall guy to... Why do I keep saying wild card? Everyone's favorite card. The ex-cop is on a citizen's rights negotiator. Okay, I have never been a negotiator. Okay, I have never been a negotiator. Why can't I say negotiator? The negotiator is a very unique role that it has the ability. I can truly speak today. Psychiatrist. I need more water. Instead, the Psychiatrist just receives measures.